Good evening, folks. It is Festival Diaries Day 7, and I'm actually at home, as you can see from my backdrop. This is the one day I get at home on this 5-week tour. I left Resolution Festival last night at around 8 p.m. Actually, it was 8:02, and made it home by 11:30, unpacked, showered, all the things. Actually had a 2-hour bath. It was like 2 a.m. by the time I got out of the bath and went to bed. So some reflections on Resolution Festival as a whole, because I was there for 6 days. There is a really strong, powerful vision that is being birthed there up on the land at Ariki Estate and Tumanako. I've been saying it wrong. It's Tumanako. Tumanako Hope and Ariki Estate. And it's about how we live as people. And the festivals are only just like one small part of that. Another big part. So Ariki was a dairy farm when it was bought by 4 men. It was 4 men that bought it. Franco, Chad, Luke, and Rob. And the cows are already gone. There was 126 cows, I think. I think they kept 6 for milking purposes. But the land itself is going to be regenerated. So they've already planted something like 60,000 trees with plans to plant another 40,000 trees. There is some native forest on the property already. And there are kiwi, wild kiwi, that were released about 20 kilometres maybe south of the property. And they're slowly, organically breeding. I think maybe 40 were released and now there's 200. They're breeding and they're making their way very slowly north, and Ariki Estate is right on the path of the kiwi. So part of the plan is to have the kind of native forest that kiwi love to inhabit and to get rid of the pests. There's a lot of pest control that's going on the land. I think they've removed something like 200 pests already. So the kiwi will come back. And then when the kiwi comes back, apparently that also supports, of course it does with all the trees, etc., supports the other bird life to come back. And instead of dairy farming, the land is going to be used for market gardens, which is way better for the land, particularly when the market gardens are done in a permaculture style way, and provides more employment. Like a dairy farm doesn't take many people to run it, but the market gardens takes a number of people to run it, so there'll be more workers and there'll be workers' accommodation. They're going to build a marae on the land as well. Like there's, oh my goodness. One of the reasons I know this is that I emceed the presentation on January 1st where the team, because it takes a huge team to do all of this. This is definitely not the Franco Heke show. This is like a whole team of people behind Tumanako and Tumanako. God, I remember to get that name right. Tumanako and Ariki. There's a whole team of people bringing all different kinds of skills. And one of my favorite things about the festival was getting to hang out with and connect with and vibe with and party with some of those people like Chad, like Nikki Osborne. She's freaking amazing, that woman. She's like so good on the details. It's like Franco's the visionary, you know, and Nikki's good on the details. And there's heaps of people there that are bringing this vision through. And so the festivals are one small part, and having like 2,000 or so people, I don't know how many people it was, it might have been 2, might have been 3, on the land over the last week was a way to start to introduce those people to a different way of living. Because the thing about festivals is that you're living in community. You know, you're in a tent next door to someone else in the tent. Like you can hear them sneeze in their tent. And in the mornings, everybody's waking up and they're lining up at the portaloos, you know, to go through the morning ablutions and connecting with each other and talking. Everyone's at the water station filling up their drink bottles, you know, like in the old days where you would have gone to the water well. So there's all these interactions and these connections and conversations happening. It's a zero waste festival, but there is compost. So everyone's, you know, doing the compost thing. There's a central washing station. Everyone brings their own cups, their own plates, their own cutlery. And, you know, you meet up with people and you're all washing your dishes together. And humans crave this. We crave connection. And so coming together in the festival means that you get to meet, if you want to, so many different people. And for me, it just felt so nourishing. I feel so nourished. I made some epic new friends. I deepened some of my old relationships and my old friendships. And what else can I say about the festival aspect? I mean, I love the fact that in 2 months' time, well, first of all, we're going to NZ South, NZ Spirit South in just 3 weeks' time. And then in 2 months' time, it'll be NZ Spirit North. So if you didn't come to Resolution and you're curious to see what the land is so beautiful. If you're curious to see what the land is like, I highly recommend that you come along to NZ Spirit North Island. Remember, you can get lifetime access to both festivals for, $1,100, which is freaking ridiculous. And, for those of you that came to Prana, like if you remember Prana Festival, that festival was on land that was owned. It was owned by a family, more so than a community of people. And it went for like 25 years and it was extraordinary. I had to laugh. Franco's up on stage. He's doing his kirtan on January 1st. And he's like, we're going to be here for thousands of years. We're laying down something. And I'm like, I like that vision. I like the idea that, there's a turning point here. There's a way of looking at how we as humans live. How do we, instead of desecrating and destroying the environment, how do we turn it around and begin to regenerate the land so the soil becomes more rich again, so the bird life comes back, so the waterways start to clean up, so that people start to connect more, then they support each other. On the last day, Dawn, I can't remember your last name, Dawn, but Dawn, who's one of the community members, and she was there. She had her tea stall. She's English, and so she was selling organic teas. And Franco had pretty much just said to her, because she's a singer and a songwriter, and she plays ukulele, and he's like, "Hey, do you want a slot?" And she's like, "Yeah, maybe." And then a week or so later, he's like, "So you're on the schedule?" And she's like, "Oh, I got to do the thing." And this is something I'm beginning to realize that Franco's really good at, is that he sees the people that are beginning to explore their gifts and beginning to explore their talents, and he encourages them. He knows what it's like as a performer, a musician, an artist, and he encourages them to do their thing. And I bumped into him just as Dawn was about to start, and we're kind of chatting business stuff, and he's like, "Come on, let's sit down. We need to go support Dawn because this is her first gig, and I want to be there to support her." And that's what the festivals are all about. It's about giving people the opportunity to uncover their gifts and then supporting them to practice their gifts and then supporting them and encouraging them to share their gifts and then celebrating them when they do. Dawn was amazing. She did such a great job. And you know what? I know, like in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 4 years' time, her music and what she's doing on stage will just get better and better and better. So this way of living in festival, like I realized that part of me last night when I was driving home, and it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I did actually end up stopping to get a coffee for safety reasons because I was tired and I had to drive like 2.5 hours. Ended up being about 3 hours because we stopped. And part of me was going, oh my God, I've got to get home, unpack the car, have a bath, go to bed, get some sleep, get up tomorrow, catch up on a week's worth of work, clean the house, pack the car again, like, and then leave the next day. I'm like, what am I thinking? This is insane. And then I realized, I was like, no, this is really special. Like when I surrender to the flow and just show up and be present to whatever is required in each moment and stop thinking about all the things on the to-do list and stop trying to control things and stop trying to like organize, plan and all of that. What needs to happen happens. What needs to get done gets done. The people I need to contact with show up. Like today has been effortless. Like I got up at around 10:30 p.m. and I felt pretty tired and a bit groggy, and I just started with a glass of hot water and ginger, which I was introduced to by Odette, who I was camping with. Bless Odette. I get up the first morning and she's got her cooker and her burner and she'd made a pot of, like a hot water, she made hot water and she's like, would you like a cup of tea? I'm like, yeah, I'd love a cup of tea. Because when I go to festivals, I don't take any cooking stuff. Like I go real streamlined, shall we say. I don't want to cook. And it was just such a delight and to have that cup of tea like offered to me. So this morning when she offered it to me, she's like, how about some sliced ginger and hot water? I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. So this morning, instead of coffee, that's what I had, and it was so good. I've been drinking it all day long. And then the rest of my day, I didn't write a list. I didn't think about the things I had to do. I just moved around the house in flow, taking care of whatever was crossing my path moment to moment to moment. And that way of being is what happens at a festival, is that you just cruise around, you know, going to the workshops, going to the performers, you know, bumping into people, having conversations, getting food, washing dishes, getting water, and it's flow, right? And it's being in the moment. And this is a way that we can live our lives. We can totally live our lives with this. Even when we're scheduled, even if you're working 9 to 5, there is another way to interact with reality. One of the things that people will often say at the end of a festival is like, oh, I'm going to go back to real life now. And I'm just like, don't do that. Like, don't separate things out as if it's false life or fake life being at a festival and it's real in whatever your day-to-day is. Nah, it's all real life. And what happens at a festival is that the conditions of the festival and the collective energy of the people begin to percolate and generate and create this way of operating. And then when people go into their day-to-day life, they don't have the same conditions and they go back to their regular conditioning and they think about and interact with reality in that same way. And the mistake is thinking that you can only have festival life at a festival, right? And that's not true. Like, I know from the last 7 years of festivaling and leading retreats, etc., that I began to recognize the way I operated at festivals and retreats was that presence and that flow and that attunement to opportunities. And I began to integrate it into my day-to-day life. So that is how I live all the time. And I definitely get topped up when I go to a festival or when I lead a retreat, when I lead a training like the one I'm leading down in Christchurch in April, the direct realization training. But it's just the norm for me now. And this is what it's about at Ariki Estate and Tumanako. I keep stumbling over the pronunciation because I was saying it wrong for so long. Tumanako. At Tumanako, right, is that the festivals are like the seed or the incubator, so people can come and experience a way of being in the world that then can start to disseminate out into day-to-day life. So that's part of the bigger vision, and the land up there will be open and available. They're going to build a sculpture park. They're going to have like monthly markets. There's going to be other events, like magic and awesomeness. Okay, this is a little longer one today because it's kind of wrapping up Resolution Festival. Today, let me just see if there's anything else to add. Tomorrow I hit the road for 4 weeks, and next up is Revive Festival. Revive, coming for you. Weather's not looking so hot. It looks like it's going to be raining every day. I have a tent, and so I've actually just been on the intercoms talking to all my friends, and I've never done this before, but I feel like the conditions are calling for it. I'm looking at getting an Airbnb in Gisborne and staying in the Airbnb and going to the festival all day and all night long, but being able to come back to a dry location for the night time. So that's the plan, but we'll see what happens because nothing is set in stone yet. Alrighty, big love to you all. Remember, there's a whole lot of festivals going on this season. You can see my timetable on my website. You can see it on my Instagram channel right at the very top. I've got Revive next, and then Eden. That's going to be really interesting. Followed by NZ Spirit South, followed by Evolve, and then it'll be Splore, NZ North, Earthbeat. There are so many epic festivals in this country, and all the ones I'm going to, except for Splore, are drug and alcohol free. That's the way I like to roll. So if you've never considered going to a festival before, get curious, check them out.